2021, a year packed with news-breaking advances in science and technology. Historic breakthroughs unfolding around the globe, shattering barriers and questioning assumptions, and turning ideas on their head.
Beautiful, beautiful Earth.
Stories that take a leap into the future or follow footprints to the past. Startling discoveries, from a prehistoric nursery to a magic bullet that could contain the pandemic. Accomplishments like harnessing a star in a bottle or mapping invisible parts of the universe. Join us on an exclusive hyper tour of the top science stories of 2021. We begin with telltale clues of who walked the land before us and when. The recent dating of footprints found in White Sands, New Mexico, may reset the timeline of ancient man in the Americas. In the last few years, tracks of human ancestors were discovered in the vast swath of arid land. Even more incredible, the footprints show clear interaction between humans and the giant beasts of the era. But what's most shocking is the carbon date of these prints, 22,000 years old, 10,000 years earlier than when humans were believed to have crossed from Asia into the Americas. The footprints also reveal clues about early humans' behavior, how they hunted, gathered, and even played, and how they interacted with the flora and fauna of their day. These new findings will impact our previous and future study of ancient peoples. More evidence has been unearthed about our prehistoric roots. Our closest evolutionary relatives may not be who we thought they were. They may be an entirely new species. The story starts with a large, elongated skull, hidden in a well for 85 years outside of Harbin, China. Only recently was it salvaged and given to a team of Chinese, British, and Australian researchers.
Some of my Chinese colleagues felt that this fossil was so distinctive that it should be called its own species, Homo longi.
Some researchers date Homo longi's skull to 146,000 years ago. But Chris's team believes it's actually 300,000 years old.
We obviously don't have the rest of the skeleton, but to judge from the size of this fossil, this would have been a very large individual, a very big body size, which is adaptive in cold conditions.
The Chinese scientists nickname him Dragon Man, after the nearby Dragon River, where the skull was originally found.
This is a lineage that lived in China for hundreds of thousands of years. It had its own evolutionary path, its own adaptations, and we can start to look at the questions of how this relates to us, to the Neanderthals.
The prevailing view is that Homo sapiens split off from Neanderthals around 600,000 years ago, but we actually may have split off from Homo longi instead. The proof is in the skulls.
So here we've got replicas of 4 different human populations. So here's the Harbin fossil, a replica of that, and next to it we've got a recent Homo sapiens.
Even without a lower jaw, Dragon Man's skull shows uncanny similarities.
The face is flat, and the cheekbones even have a slight hollowing. Things we find in the face of Homo sapiens, the face is tucked under the brain case, very similar to the way the face is tucked under in modern humans.
The team hopes to retrieve possible DNA from the skull, but drilling into inner ear bone could cause damage.
Even if there's no DNA, there could be fossil protein material in the bone or teeth. Proteins can give you at least a rough assignment of whether this is closer to Neanderthals or to modern humans or to these other ancient people called the Denisovans.
The goal is to map Homo longi's entire genome, which would confirm his place in our evolutionary tree.
To have a genome to go with it would make this one of the greatest finds in human evolution ever.
We leave the past and jump to the present, where modern Homo sapiens make history in space.
We are starting the straighten up and fly right maneuver. Now has radar lock on the ground. Current velocity is about 100 meters per second.
After traveling nearly 300 million miles, NASA's Perseverance spacecraft reached its destination, Mars.
Tango Delta.
Touchdown confirmed. Perseverance safely on the surface of Mars.
On February 18th, the rover touched down right on target in Jezero Crater after a fiery entry and dramatic descent and landing. Captured for the first time ever from multiple cameras.
Are we alone? I don't think so. If we find ancient life on Mars, it really changes everything.
And Perseverance may just help answer these questions. As long as the carefully chosen landing site hosted water long ago.
We're going right here to a place called Jezero Crater, which once, when Mars was warmer and wetter, hosted a lake.
Perseverance is armed with a battery of 7 instruments and 23 cameras that address questions about life in the past, in the present, and the future. And with 2 microphones on board, the world has now heard the first gust of wind from the red planet. If something ever lived here, Perseverance can find evidence of its biosignature. A drill shares the turret with the scientific instruments. The drill bores holes and extracts core samples. This is the first view of a cored sample of Martian rock in its titanium tube. A future mission will collect the cache and bring the samples back to Earth.
We have a lot to learn, life or no life, about the evolution of our solar system, about our planet, by looking in depth at rocks brought back from Mars.
Probably the most exciting experiment of all is Perseverance's companion, dubbed Ingenuity, the first ever Martian helicopter.
This really is a Wright brothers moment. It's the start of a whole new kind of planetary exploration. Just incredible.
With each subsequent flight, the engineers collect more data to help push the chopper further in both distance and duration.
Being able to fly will enable us to get to places that we cannot get to with rovers and astronauts, like sites of steep cliffs, deep inside crevices, areas of high scientific interest. It will be game-changing.
The mission is scheduled to last at least 1 Martian year, about 687 Earth days. If Ingenuity marks the beginning of otherworldly flight, it's just a precursor to NASA's most ambitious mission yet, Titan. In 2027, NASA is planning to launch a one-of-a-kind spacecraft.
Dragonfly is a rotorcraft lander that's going to Saturn's moon Titan, which is one of the most interesting places in the solar system, but I'm pretty biased.
If all goes according to plan, Dragonfly will touch down on Titan in the 2030s and spend years exploring this unknown landscape.
A rotorcraft is the very best way to explore Titan because it allows us to both do pinpoint landings and inspection and also cover large distances to be able to see vastly different locations on the surface.
With Ingenuity, NASA is able to give direct commands to the drone via an orbiting spacecraft. Dragonfly will have no such luxury.
The lander will need to essentially fly itself down on its very first flight to a world that we don't have very many images.
During its nearly 3-year mission, Dragonfly will explore diverse environments, from organic dunes to the floor of an impact crater, where liquid water once existed.
The evolution of Titan may hold clues to our own past. We think that before biology really took over here on the Earth, it might have had an atmosphere that was kind of hazy, similar to Titan's today. That haze might have been what helped seed wherever life really took off.
If the Mars Ingenuity and Dragonfly perform well, space choppers could soon begin leaving Earth in relatively large numbers.
It's the start of a whole new kind of planetary exploration, launching Perseverance, landing Perseverance, and now deploying and flying the helicopter. Just incredible.
While Titan may be the where and Dragonfly may be the how, the what becomes a different matter altogether. Dark matter, to be more precise. Although dark matter makes up close to 95% of all matter in the universe, because it isn't made of atoms, it can't be measured with traditional instruments. But now, for the first time ever, scientists have mapped where dark matter exists in the universe.
There's 2 reasons why we believe dark matter exists. Firstly, we feel its presence from its gravity. So the motions of galaxies in clusters of galaxies are governed by something that's very, very massive that we can't see. Secondly, gravitational lensing, the bending of light by massive objects, enables us to chart how much dark matter there is and also where it is.
Scientists from the Dark Energy Survey Collaboration created the map using the Victor M. Blanco telescope in Chile. They collected data from 100 million galaxies and observed where and how much light has been distorted. This indicated the highest concentrations of dark matter. This map is a paradigm shift in how the universe is perceived, in both its present and past states, and even turns Einstein's theory of relativity on its head. Why? Because the map shows less correlation between mass and gravity than Einstein predicted. The universe is not expanding slower, it's expanding faster. Back on Earth, 3 new fossil finds provide a fuller picture of dinosaurs that once roamed the planet. Far away in the Australian outback, a man and his son made a startling prehistoric discovery.
My son, actually, he's 14 at the time, he picked up a funny-looking rock in 2004. Queensland Museum had it verified as dinosaur bone. Went to the site, found some more of that particular bone.
Something switched in me. I mean, how often do you get that opportunity to have dinosaurs in your backyard?
The bones belong to what may be an entirely new species of mega dinosaur.
It's Australia's largest dinosaur, Australotitan cooperensis. Now, Australotitan means southern titan, and cooperensis means from the Cooper Creek of Queensland in southwest Queensland, where this gigantic dinosaur was discovered.
Australotitan was the size of a basketball court, as tall as a 2-story house, and weighed up to 80 tons. Paleontologists need to be sure that Australotitan was indeed a different species. The team uses new digital technology to make 3D scans of each bone and compared them to Australotitan's closest relatives, sauropods.
Australotitan, it's in the top 10 to 15 largest in the world. Our study looked at dinosaurs from not just Australia, but across the world.
Australotitan is officially a new species of sauropods, with 4 legs, long necks, and tails. These herbivores lived 92 million to 96 million years ago.
You can actually pick up bits of bone and start figuring out what animal it is and what part of the body the bones are coming from. That's pretty exciting. That's very exciting.
On the other side of the Pacific, someone else picks up an unusual rock that turns out to be a major find. California's Sierra Nevada mountains formed at least 40 million years ago. Through the ages, the ecosystem here has definitely changed. Hiking along the mountain's foothills, naturist ranger Greg Franczek discovers pieces of the ancient past quietly underfoot when he stumbles upon a partially buried stone tree. From a forest between 5 and 10 million years old, containing fossils of the creatures that lived in it during Earth's Miocene epoch. A giant tortoise shell, the jaw of a tapir, and bones from relatives of modern-day elephants, like the four-tusked Gaumfather and an 8-million-year-old mastodon skull. Experts believe these are the first mastodon fossils found in California since 1947. Russell Shapiro from California's Chico State University oversees the dig.
What I didn't comprehend at the time was the amazing fact that I was looking at the bones of great beasts that had roamed this landscape millions of years ago.
The dig is a huge treasure trove that offers a unique glimpse into North America's distant past. Near Alaska's desolate Arctic Circle, the cries of babies were once heard. Dinosaur babies that hatched in what scientists are calling a prehistoric maternity ward.
How could these animals that we normally associate with being in tropical environments, or how could they possibly have survived under polar conditions?
A joint research team found tiny fossilized bones and baby teeth from dinosaurs dating back to more than 70 million years ago.
My research team has been working up there, digging up dinosaurs on the Colville River, and this is about 20 miles from the Arctic Ocean.
Given the long incubation time of dinosaur eggs, 3 to 6 months, scientists believe these dinosaurs were year-round Arctic residents, not just seasonal visitors. Which means they've endured punishing winters, snow, and months of unending darkness.
Apparently, the Arctic was a really great place to have babies. So we were not only surprised to find some baby dinosaurs, but actually several species of dinosaurs that we now realize were nesting in the Arctic.
Researchers used dental tools to scrape through the sediment of the riverbank, looking for fossils.
We've found hatchlings of just about every dinosaur we know that's up there. That includes the hatchlings of giant tyrannosaurs, horned dinosaurs, and little raptors, you name it.
Our image of dinosaurs as cold-blooded creatures craving tropical temperatures is a relic of the past.
Dinosaurs were actually warm-blooded animals, or endotherms, more like birds or mammals.
Polar dinosaurs adapted to the punishing winters by regulating their body heat, just like mammals, or by hibernating underground. Baby dinosaurs may have been adorable, but like their parents, they all vanished from the Arctic when disaster struck. We weren't around when the dinosaurs breathed their last breath. But a breakthrough discovery reveals that our ancestors were. 66 million years ago, an immense asteroid slammed into Earth, creating the equivalent of a nuclear winter.
North America was rather close, thousands of miles away, compared to other places on the opposite end of the globe.
Now, a team of scientists has found a possible witness to the catastrophe. And it wasn't a dinosaur. They've uncovered evidence of a primate unknown to science. Until now.
It's that ancestor that we think lived during the time of dinosaurs.
When the experts want to find fossils from the Cretaceous, they head to the Hell Creek Formation in northeastern Montana.
In the Hell Creek area, which is sort of our model for studying this mass extinction event, we had upwards of 30 different species of mammals.
All of the large dinosaurs perished at the same time, but birds and some small mammals survived. One was Purgatorius, known only to scientists from its fossilized teeth.
Greg documented 5 isolated teeth of Purgatorius from this locality called Harley's Point. And he contacted me and wanted me to collaborate with him and try to figure out which species they represent.
Unlike its mammalian peers, which ate insects, Purgatorius had a varied diet. It was an omnivore. This seemed to suggest that Purgatorius might be the earliest ancestor of modern-day lemurs, monkeys, chimps, all primates that include humans.
The ankle bones that we found have specific features that allow for a great deal of mobility. That's the same kind of mobility that we see in primates that live up in the trees today.
The researchers analyzed the bones with CT scans and then created 3D images to study them. The new fossils are 200,000 years earlier than any Purgatorius fossil found before. This places the creature right around the actual extinction event. If Purgatorius lived alongside the great dinosaurs and survived the mass extinction, then humans can trace their evolutionary history as primates much deeper back in time than we thought.
It's really spectacular to think that Purgatorius is on our line. It's separated from the colugos and the tree shrews, and it's on the line leading to primates. So it's a step towards you and I.
Our missing link may have lived long ago, but one of the oldest species on the planet has been around longer. From their unique predatory behaviors to the silk masterpieces they weave, science is revealing some crazy things about spiders and their silks.
It is 7 times lighter than steel, as strong as steel.
There are all kinds of spiders. Not all of them spin webs, but they all produce silk.
Spider silk is special because it is a multifunctional material produced by spider in a fraction of seconds. They use silk as a tool.
So a spider web is made up of multiple different types of silk. It's not all the same.
The advancement of genomics in recent years has been a big boost to studying the evolution of spider silks.
What we're finding is that these genes are evolving very, very quickly.
Researchers at University of Trento in Italy recently discovered a predatory skill not seen before. Some spiders can produce a silk with uncanny lifting properties. The ratio of the mass of the object being lifted and the mass of the spider creates a pulley effect and results in lifting the prey.
And they can lift prey many, many, many times heavier than themselves.
Scientists at Binghamton University have uncovered another fascinating property of spider silks. They can help spiders hear. Humans use their eardrum to hear, but many animals, including spiders, use hairs on their body to hear or sense vibrations. Now researchers believe their webs play an integral role as well.
In the same way that a spider can detect vibrations of something touching the web, they should also be able to detect vibrations caused from sound.
Spiders get a lot of cues transmitted from the silk itself. They know the direction that something has intercepted their web.
Potential implications for this may just change the way we detect sound and make microphones in the future.
We might be able to use the mechanical properties of this silk then for better microphones or hearing aids, directional acoustic sensors and things like that.
Other human benefits and applications from spider silks are emerging from all this research.
Spider silks could be used for sutures, they could repair tendons, they could be parts of ballistics, the anti-ballistics type gear where you would want to have flexible body armor. They're also being talked about for even high-performance athletic wear.
We leave a tiny world behind and move on to a global one in trouble. In 2021, extreme weather events shatter records all across the planet. In February, a series of winter storms lead to a catastrophic freeze event that paralyzes much of Texas. In June, a heat dome settles in the Pacific Northwest areas of the United States and Canada, causing blast furnace temperatures of up to 118 degrees. In July, heavy rainfall from a cut-off low-pressure system causes severe flooding in Germany, Belgium, and the Netherlands. Lives are swept away, along with houses, highways, and rail lines. What is different this time is that scientists are drawing direct links between these extreme weather events and climate change.
As climate changes, it is stretching or distorting our extremes. It's making some of them more frequent, it's making others stronger.
Scientists use climate modeling to explain this effect. A climate model runs on a powerful supercomputer. Lines of code describe the changes that scientists observe in the atmosphere, ocean, biosphere, and land. Unfortunately, the public often sees climate modeling as unreliable and inaccurate. In fact, it's so precise that it earns a Nobel Prize. 2 pioneering climate modelers and a physicist are awarded the prize in physics for groundbreaking contributions to the understanding of complex physical systems. This understanding can help us before the next extreme event hits. By anticipating future heat waves, deaths can be dramatically reduced with adequate preparation. In the case of flooding, by implementing early warning systems and improving infrastructure, residents will be able to become more resilient and survive.
Rather than only looking backwards to make our decisions, we have to start looking forwards into the future. That's why we need climate projections.
Time's running out. With a 2-degree increase in global warming, extreme weather events will occur more frequently and with more intensity. Scientists and engineers have already taken on this challenge and made a revolutionary breakthrough this year. It's been a goal of science for decades. Clean, commercially viable nuclear fusion power. Smashing together, or fusing 2 or more atoms of hydrogen to create atoms of helium, releases massive amounts of energy. In space, this naturally occurring process is what powers our sun and all the stars.
Fusion energy is effectively the universe's choice for how it generates energy.
But fusion on Earth must be manufactured using electrically charged, incredibly hot, gaseous hydrogen plasmas.
You see the flickering of the plasma? We are creating fusion here.
Most fusion research revolves around tokamaks, donut-shaped reactors that use strong magnetic fields to contain the fuel.
Fundamentally, what fusion is trying to put a star in a bottle. Now, tokamak is basically the simplest type of bottle. And in this case, it's a magnet that holds the plasma inside of it, and it insulates the fuel, the plasma, so it can get very, very, very hot.
100 millions of degrees hot, hotter than the sun. Recent experiments produce fleeting successes, but require more energy than is produced. But in September, a team from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology and a commercial startup named Commonwealth Fusion Systems announce a breakthrough. The key is a new type of magnet, weighing 10 tons and consisting of 270 kilometers of HTS, or high-temperature superconductor coil. A major milestone is how the magnet's stunning efficiency requires only 30 watts of energy, dramatically minimizing the energy needed for the containment field.
In the creation of a fusion power plant, arguably the biggest miracle is the demonstration of the magnets, and that's where we are today.
The MIT CFS team believe their magnet technologies will provide the quickest and most viable approach to achieving net energy from fusion. That's more energy out than is consumed.
The reason we don't have fusion power plants like now today was largely one of scale. This new magnet technology allows us to make fusion so much smaller with known science that we're going to be able to get there so much sooner than people had thought previously possible.
Why is this so important? With its zero emission potential and abundant seawater providing the necessary hydrogen fuel, fusion presents a welcome alternative to burning fossil fuels.
Well, there's a big push right now in decarbonizing the grid with renewables, solar, wind, but at some point, probably around 2040, we're going to max out with renewables and we won't be able to decarbonize further. We're going to need another zero carbon option.
If all goes according to plan, a truly transformative technology could soon provide a cleaner environment while powering the future.
Imagine the world in 2050 where you've got like 10,000 fusion power plants producing 20% of the global energy use without emitting any carbon. That would be really good for everybody.
Another feat of groundbreaking technology won't be found on the ground. In the far reaches of space, 400 million years after the Big Bang, the first light appears, caused by the formation of the first stars and galaxies. This ancient light is the key target for the largest and most technologically advanced telescope ever, the James Webb Space Telescope.
Webb constitutes a big leap in astrophysics. It really is the next generation telescope.
It has three main missions: to see this light from the Big Bang, study the formation of galaxies and stars, and look for signs of life around distant planets. The massive telescope is folded up like origami and squeezed inside the nose fairing of a European Space Agency's Ariane 5 rocket. Once launched, it'll unfold over 3 weeks in an intricate ballet of automated sequences. At the heart is the largest mirror ever made, 18 separate pieces that must precisely fit together, creating a single gigantic mirror. This optical system feeds light to 4 science instruments capable of detecting the chemical compositions of galaxies and the atmospheres of distant planets. Webb will be sent 1 million miles from Earth to a gravitationally stable point that it can circle as it orbits the Sun with the Earth. To protect itself from the Sun's searing heat requires its most ambitious innovation: a giant sunshield, the size of a tennis court and made of 5 layers of reflective fabric, each as thin as a human hair. Once in operating position, Webb will need to unfold this complex apparatus perfectly. It's the riskiest part of the whole mission.
We do risky things because it's the only way to get at the answers that we're after. But the only way to get at the answer is to build this kind of equipment.
The James Webb Space Telescope will be an eyepiece to uncharted realms, changing our understanding of our place in the universe. Closer to our home planet, space science is looking to the second body from the Sun, Venus. Other than the Moon, it's the brightest object in the night sky, captivating men and women for millennia.
We think that Venus may once have looked more like Earth in the past.
2 new programs, Da Vinci and Veritas, will launch planetary probes designed to visit Venus within a decade. 2 rocky bodies, roughly the same size, astronomical next-door neighbors, both formed about 4.5 billion years ago. How did 2 worlds with so much in common become so different?
It's this amazing cosmic accident, right? That we have 2 planets that are so much alike. It's like every scientist's dream that you have like a control case.
The plans include a carrier spacecraft, which will fly by Venus twice before releasing the descent probe, protected by a heat shield 7 feet in diameter.
That will carry us into that atmosphere, handle the peak heating of that entry, and then jettison the heat shield, so our probe will be exposed to the atmosphere in the upper clouds, around 70 kilometers. And that's when our mission begins.
That multi-pronged mission to examine the elemental properties of the Venusian atmosphere, image and identify the character of the landscape, and ultimately land on the surface.
We are sending what I like to call a flying rover chemistry lab. And it will be in the form of a special probe, not unlike a diving bell that you would need to go into the deep ocean.
We're going to look for chemical fingerprints that may indicate that Venus was once habitable in the past. So by reading these records on Venus today, we might be able to infer that Venus was a nice place to live in the past, maybe a place that we'd want to visit.
Understanding Venus's story can aid the search for life on new planets around other stars. If Da Vinci will explore Venus close up, Veritas, launching in 2028, will examine the planet from a distance, in orbit. Now using radar technologies developed to study Earth, Veritas will return data from Venus 100 times more detailed than its predecessors.
The science that Veritas wants to accomplish is looking at the planet holistically. We want to understand the geologic engine inside the planet, how that interacts with the surface, how it drives volcanism, how it drives faulting, and what that means for the atmosphere.
It may be that Venus is a magic mirror that's reflecting the future of Earth back to our planet. So these same processes involving, the shutdown of geological activity as the planet cools, these are also going to play out on Earth billions of years into the future.
This is beyond words. We are so ready to bring Venus into focus for humanity because we think she is a story we have to tell.
Another story waiting to be told comes from deep in our oceans. An untold number of ocean creatures call this deep domain home, thanks to a weird and watery web of life. Armed with an impressive array of new technologies, a team of scientists embark on a quest to explore this mysterious ocean region. Scientifically known as the Mesopelagic Zone, the ocean twilight zone sits beneath the surface layer of the ocean and stretches around the world at depths roughly between 100 and 1,000 meters. It earned its murky nickname due to the limited penetration of sunlight. A challenging environment even before considering the cold temperatures and intense pressures.
There are specially adapted creatures that can detect whether it's day or night, even though there's vanishingly low levels of light in that zone.
They're uniquely adapted. They can see each other. They bioluminescent many times, either to kind of be stealthily hidden so they can match the sunlight above them so they can't be seen from below, or to create little targets so they can entice animals to come close enough so they can actually eat them.
a research ship chartered by the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution, is designed to examine the ocean twilight zone and its ecological role for our planet. On terra firma, tree buds burst, flowers blossom, and leaves fall, the cycling of carbon dioxide out in the open for all to see. At sea, that process is largely the same, but hidden from view.
Plant-like organisms, phytoplankton in the ocean, take the carbon dioxide and, thanks to the sunshine, convert it into the organic carbon. And that effectively becomes the food for the rest of the ocean ecosystem.
The ocean absorbs about 1/3 of carbon dioxide emissions in the atmosphere as a result of human activities like the burning of fossil fuels. This research voyage seeks to gain knowledge about what's called the biological carbon pump, the process by which carbon is transferred from the atmosphere to the bottom of the ocean. This natural phenomenon has occurred for millions of years, including the time a prehistoric beast stalked the water. We're fascinated by the T-Rex of the oceans, a beast 3 times longer and 30 times heavier than a great white shark.
How could a shark get this large? What were these massive teeth being used for?
New breakthroughs are revealing hidden details about the monster shark's secret struggles.
We think that Megalodon was cannibalistic, and there's no reason to think that meg pups would have been safe from other larger megalodons.
The pups that emerged were the strongest because they ate their siblings in the womb. Megalodon hunted in seas around the world from 20 until 7 million years ago.
Its prey lived globally, so wherever its prey were, so was Megalodon.
One unique location yields an impressive fossil record of the beast. The Calvert Cliffs in Maryland were once underwater.
Megalodon teeth are found here on land or in excavation sites because those sediments that preserve those teeth were once ocean bottom, ocean floor.
There are new theories about what caused the beast to vanish from the world's seas.
Megalodon being as large as it would require more food than a great white. So just the fact that great whites could survive with less prey gave them advantage over Megalodon. Another theory is that whales and dolphins adapted the ability to go into colder waters and that Megalodon couldn't tolerate those cold temperatures, so there was a reduction in prey availability. And the third explanation is that when Panama formed, that landmass separated the Pacific from the Atlantic, and people suggested that that interrupted some of the migration routes for Megalodon.
Teeth are almost all that we have left of Megalodon.
The size of the Megalodon tooth tells us how large the animal was.
Like white sharks, Megalodon was strategic.
Megalodon's strategy would be to attack the tail of the animal, effectively immobilize it, and then that animal would bleed out.
Adult megs were probably also cannibals. From time to time, meg teeth are found that show that they were bitten by another meg tooth. Megalodon was the top marine predator for about 20 million years. Without a doubt, no matter how big and powerful you are, if you can't adapt to a changing environment, you will become extinct.
Sometimes, unexpected science solutions arise from unexpected places. A silent looming presence with never-waning power. The Suez Canal, a vital passageway linking Europe with Asia. One of the world's largest container ships, as long as the Empire State Building, tipped on its side, crashes into a sandbank, and becomes stuck.
This is the largest vessel ever to go ground in the Suez Canal, and she's gone sideways in the canal, blocking both north and south. Could have huge ramifications for global trade.
300 ships are backed up and waiting.
got around 1 million containers currently waiting to exit the canal. This is going to take weeks, if not months, to unravel.
International experts are summoned to figure out how to budge the stubborn vessel. Emergency crews work around the clock to dredge sand from around the ship's bow. But the canal bank is made of very soft sand, and the ship sinks further in.
The friction stops it moving completely. So you need a massive force to try and move that. We dredge the sand away, little bit by little bit with these tugs. It's going to be a very big job.
With all eyes focused on the water, an alternate solution appears in the sky. Not just a full moon, but a supermoon. This occurs when the moon's orbit is closest to Earth at the same time it's full. As Earth rotates, its watery surface bulges out due to the moon's gravity. This makes seas rise and fall, forming tides. As the supermoon peaks, a spring tide rises 1.5 feet above normal. This gives the critical push for tugboats to finally refloat the ship and free up the canal. Sometimes the best scientific solution is when the forces of nature come to the rescue. Before there was a Suez Canal, or even a modern-day Egypt, an entire civilization once flourished. Deep in the heart of ancient Egypt, archaeologists have made a groundbreaking discovery.
Look at the debris. It's untouched. Nobody did touch for thousands of years.
This is incredibly important.
The most significant find since King Tut's tomb was unearthed a century ago.
This is really a large city that was lost. We never thought that this city could be discovered.
Archaeologists have been searching for it over 100 years.
It was found in the Golden Age of Egypt, 1391 BC.
The area lies on the west bank of the Nile, near Luxor, once the ancient capital of Thebes. The expedition team uncovered mud brick walls leading in all directions, which belonged to a well-preserved city with streets and buildings.
We found 3 major districts, one for administration, one for the workmen to sleep, one for the industry.
Archaeologists are calling this site the Pompeii of ancient Egypt.
To see enormous jars that clearly date to the time of Amenhotep III, still lying on the ground as if they'd been left there yesterday, was really unexpected and exciting.
The city dates back 3,400 years to the reign of Amenhotep III, also known as Amenhotep the Magnificent.
He was born at a time when Egypt had created an enormous empire that stretched all the way to northern Syria in the north, to the Fifth Cataract on the Nile River in modern Sudan in the south.
Amenhotep III was the wealthiest king in ancient Egypt.
He used that opportunity to build things and put his name out there and connect himself to the gods.
He built most of the temples and palaces on the west bank of the Nile. It has taken 7 months of labor to excavate just the industrial part of the city.
One area for storage, we found a big area for the storage of making sandals, also sewing clothing, precious stones for making necklaces and bracelets.
And an entire fish encrusted with gold that may have been used in religious ceremonies. 3 skeletons were found. One was a person with rope wrapped around the knees. The work of digging out an entire city will take years to complete.
I think we need another 5 years to continue the excavation on the south to find the funerary temple of Tutankhamun.
We believe that we're going to find more and more and more
this will turn out to be a larger city than Amarna, the city that Akhenaten founded a few years after his father died.
Experts believe this monumental discovery is just the tip of the iceberg. Now we turn to a natural crisis in the Atlantic. This whale is fighting for its life, strangled by fishing gear. It's one of the most endangered whale species on Earth.
The crisis is quite bad and quite shocking to me.
There are only about 360 left on the entire planet. And experts are racing against the clock to develop new technologies to save them. Every year, many right whales migrate from their calving grounds in Florida, Georgia, and North Carolina up to feeding grounds in the Gulf of St. Lawrence. They must navigate a dangerous man-made obstacle course of busy shipping lanes and commercial fishing areas. A leading cause of death and injury to the right whale is from vessel strikes. Another is entanglement in fishing gear.
The rope, the nets that they're wrapped up in, make it harder for them to swim, it increases the drag, and so they lose energies. And as a result, they've been losing weight, losing condition, they're in ill health.
It used to be that the only way to keep track of the right whale was from the air. Now, scientists are using sound and acoustic technology to both track them and alert nearby ships.
The echoes that they receive back tells them something about the environment that they're in.
North Atlantic right whales, they produce a whole variety of different calls, but they have this particular call called the up call, which is this contact call that they do to stay in touch with each other.
We identify the species by the types of sounds they make, and we identify that there are whales there.
This new technology is called real-time acoustics.
The acoustic recorders can go out to sea. It doesn't matter what the weather is. They record 24/7, so it can be pitch black or daylight.
Real-time data that can alert ships and fishing vessels much quicker than archival data. Ropes wrapped around a whale's head, mouth and baleen, flippers and flukes can cause deep lacerations, deformities in bones, and partial or total amputations. In a number of cases, ropes were wrapped around a single whale 30 to 50 times.
These animals are so big and strong, they can actually rip that fishing gear off the seafloor and carry it with them for thousands of kilometers.
Rope can limit a whale's ability to open its mouth, breathe, and create a watertight blowhole seal when diving, leading to starvation and drowning. The commercial fishing industry is now testing 2 new acoustic retrieval technologies. One that keeps the rope on the seafloor until it is needed.
One way is to attach what are called acoustic releases to gear that, when given an acoustic command, they release and allow a rope to come to the surface.
Another technology uses an airbag to bring the trap up.
I think the idea of using acoustic traps is a great one, because for most of the time there will be no rope in the water column for a whale to get entangled in.
With the cooperation between commercial fishing and the science community, these experts believe a win-win solution is possible.
What we're trying to do is buy some time for the species while we get our act together. I'm not asking for a reduction in fishing. I am asking for a reduction of rope.
But we're trying to be ahead of the curve. I want to be at the table figuring the stuff out. If you're working together, that's how you're going to solve something.
While humans work to save whales, dogs, on the other hand, are working hard to save humans. Dogs can help humans sniff out all kinds of things: explosives, missing persons, illegal drugs. And now, the latest research is revealing that dogs can detect disease, even cancer.
The dog's nose is an exquisite chemical detector.
Now we know dogs can smell the prostate cancer in urine. The next stage is to work out how do they do it.
A dog's sense is up to 1 million times sharper than humans. And recent science is revealing that it's up to 100 million times more sensitive.
Dogs have got this incredible sense of smell. I mean, they have 300 million sensory receptors in their olfactory epithelium, so us poor humans have got 5 million, and we still smell things quite well.
While a dog's brain is only 1/10 the size of a human brain, the portion controlling smell is 40 times larger than in humans.
There's some new evidence that dogs can predict when a seizure is about to happen.
Well, a medical detection dog is a dog that can smell disease, which sounds too much to believe. When a dog is living alongside us, they notice biochemical changes that occur when we become unwell, and that they, if trained correctly, can tell us about these changes.
This research led to a major scientific breakthrough. Dogs are able to detect or smell cancer much earlier than doctors.
When a dog sniffs, they're able to take in a lot more at once. That sends signals to the brain, and that's where the odor is processed. There's a part of the brain called the thalamus that works essentially as the brain's operator. Different. Odors actually bypass the thalamus and go straight to the parts of the brain that process and interpret those odors, which are closely tied to the parts of the brain that process emotions, memories. Odors seem to have a very strong kind of emotional association with them.
Scientists use functional MRI to understand the dog's unique neuro-olfactory connection.
Functional MRI is a way to look at brain activity, how different parts of the brain communicate with each other. Using functional MRI, we might be able to better understand how to train them to detect the range of things that we want them to respond to.
When you're sniffing something, you're not getting a list of molecules by name and concentration. What you get is more akin to an image or a poem or a piece of music. It is an experience, it's a perception.
This knowledge is also being used by researchers at MIT and the Prostate Cancer Foundation, who are attempting to create an artificially intelligent dog's nose.
Well, what Andreas Moschen and his team are going to do is build a robotic nose that is going to detect odours in the way that the dog does.
A device such as this would be game-changing for humanity.
Let's put a nose in the cell phone. Dogs can smell cancer. I'm building a device that will fit in your cell phone so you can smell your own cancer without having to drag a dog around.
From dog detection to prevention, there's more breakthrough news on the COVID front. When the best science minds focus on a single problem, the results can be miraculous. Microscopic video shows how the coronavirus turns host cells into virus-making factories, causing them to explode and die. As the pandemic rages on, scientists battle the virus on multiple fronts. Breakthroughs from the past year provide glimpses of light at the end of the tunnel. A new class of vaccines is developed at lightning speed, using revolutionary mRNA technology. This uses a piece of messenger RNA to target a protein on the virus. Our immune system reacts to this foreign protein by producing antibodies that protect against infection. The vaccines are soon distributed on a mass scale.
Unlike traditional approaches to a vaccine where you might be growing the virus in cultures, we can make it synthetically and make 1 million doses, theoretically, so we can move very fast.
In July, a COVID-19 variant appears. Delta variant is deadlier and much more transmissible. Will the new vaccines be able to protect against Delta? A resounding yes. Gene splicing techniques like CRISPR can tweak the mRNA vaccine to protect against the next variant that appears. In September, the FDA recommends getting a booster dose of the vaccine. Latest update is, this booster shot can be different from the original kind received. Mixing vaccines may raise antibody levels higher. Another weapon in the battle is to bombard the virus with promising treatments, such as the drug remdesivir and monoclonal antibodies.
The virus has spike proteins all the way around. Those are the way the coronavirus attaches to your body's cells. The monoclonal antibody binds up all those spike proteins. The coronavirus cannot bind to your cells, and your body can clear the virus more rapidly.
But monoclonal antibodies need to be administered by infusion, or a series of shots, and the treatment is still expensive. In what may be a game changer, Merck announces a new antiviral pill called molnupiravir. It cuts in half a person's risk of hospitalization and death from COVID-19.
It's kind of like Tamiflu that we use for flu or influenza. In essence, it's trying to attack the virus and prevent its progression.
As Merck awaits FDA approval, other antiviral pills are being developed too.
The fact that we are seeing lots of changes is actually really exciting things. That means people are doing their jobs and they're paying attention to data and they're changing policies based on science, on information, then that's really the best case scenario for all of us.
While the research will continue, humanity reaches further into space in 2021, revolutionizing the future of space exploration. 3 billionaires, each with their pet projects, launch historic flights that herald a new era in commercial space exploration. Owner Richard Branson is on the first flight of Virgin Galactic, a spacecraft that launches like a plane from a mothership.
This is Blue Moon.
Blue Origin, founded by Jeff Bezos, also completes its first manned flight.
It's time to go back to the moon, this time to stay.
Elon Musk's SpaceX already leads the pack by ferrying crews and cargo to the International Space Station on a regular basis.
And we should take action and become a multi-planet civilization as soon as possible and extend life beyond Earth.
SpaceX raises the bar even further when, in a historic first, 4 ordinary citizens take off on a 3-day voyage around Earth, traveling 100 miles further than the International Space Station.
Welcome everybody to Crew Dragon Resilience. We're cruising right now at 580 kilometers above the Earth, going about 7.6 kilometers per second. So we're seeing the world every 90 minutes.
Financed by one of the passengers, Inspiration 4 is more than a thrilling tour of space. The flight also debuts the new Dragon Cupola. This observation dome provides a stunning 360-degree view of outside the capsule.
This is the largest window ever flown in space, and the views, I have to say, are out of this world.
After 3 days in orbit, 4 parachutes deploy, and Dragon touches down off Florida's coast. Inspiration 4 proves that passengers can learn the technological and physical skills needed for spaceflight in a shorter training window. The success of commercial companies like SpaceX positions them to take over flights to low Earth orbit, including the International Space Station. This frees NASA to branch out further into deep space and pursue its most ambitious missions, like building a permanent colony on the Moon and eventually Mars. Moving forward, NASA tasks SpaceX and other companies to deliver the next generation of lunar landers. Part of its upcoming Artemis mission to put humans back on the Moon.
We're going back in a way that is totally different. With our international partners, with our commercial partners.
Artemis will establish the first long-term presence on the moon, leading to future moon colonies. From a 360-degree view of space to a microscopic blueprint of what makes each of us human, we end on what may be the most significant story of 2021. The mapping of the entire human genome is finally completed. Scientists knew for years that our genes are spread across 23 pairs of chromosomes, but millions of these worm-like structures could not be deciphered. 2 decades ago, a network of international geneticists set out to sequence all the DNA in our chromosomes. This gave birth to the Human Genome Project. Over time, pieces of the genome puzzle were added, but there were a lot of blank spaces. During the pandemic, a team of 99 scientists worked remotely to finally complete the project this year. They were aided by new machines that can quickly read long strands of DNA. The end result is called the reference genome, the new standard for comparing variations in DNA in people. And now, scientists can sequence an entire genome overnight. This new major tool can be used to identify and track new COVID variants, sequence the genome of our prehistoric ancestors, or crack the real Da Vinci Code of Leonardo's genius. Because of this monumental achievement, more breakthroughs are just around the corner. Scientists relentlessly exploring the unknown, pushing the envelope of possibilities, never giving up. Because science never sleeps.